Good afternoon, everyone, or should I say good evening to our friends on the other side of the pond, as they say. Welcome to the, I guess, special edition show of Beyond the Outer Realm, which is a spin-off, of course, of the main show, The Outer Realm. We are still broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 from the Gulf Coast, 107.7 FM from beautiful New Orleans. This is really exciting for me because I have been pondering this for quite a while. And, with the main show, we tend to back up months. It's like so humbling, so humbling. And I love it. I hate having to make people wait. And the benefit, of course, of Beyond the Outer Realm is those uncensored shows, right? When you're not, or you can't behave, and the special edition shows. And this is what I consider a special edition show. So we are bringing on, before I even say anything, I have done this tour. Okay. It's an award-winning City of the Dead tours in Edinburgh, Scotland. I've done it. I can't wait to get back. I love the people in Scotland. I have so many friends in Scotland, but when you can get off the plane and you're asked by someone at the airport, "You're from Canada?" That's like, yes. And they grab you and give you this big honking hug. You know you are in the right country. And I never stopped having a good time from the moment I got off the plane. So we are welcoming today Jacqui Corstorphine, and he's a manager of this incredible event. And I have friends who've done it as well. You know darn well better be watching today, let me tell you what, because damn. Anyway, so it is a special edition show. He's going to share with you what I have been yattering on about forever, what this incredible place, because it really is one of the most special places, not just in Scotland, but the history, in the United Kingdom. Those of us who have all been, we all have this sense of longing for Scotland. It's a magical, magical place. And this is just one of the reasons why it's magical, because there's just so much. And it's better to just let Jacqui explain it all. And he has sent photos, so we will go through some of those as we move through the show. So without further ado, hello. How are you? Welcome.
Ah, great to be here. Thanks.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you for taking the time. I know life gets a little bit crazy for you. I don't even know where to start. We were just chatting briefly about how this place is just so incredible. Ghosts aside, the history, those who came before us, and the tragedies. And I think the thing that sticks out to me more than even the tour itself is when the guide at the time was talking about how bones would be put into the mortar of the buildings, and you realize just how much people, just historically speaking, way back in the day, this is how that they would sort of construct in some of the buildings, these historic buildings. And I thought, my gosh, like, that's intense. These people really have become the fiber of this area.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of history. We used to do a lot of things. That's not so much. We did kind of be reserved to mainly oyster shells after a while, and
Yes.
bones. But yeah, bone is a rigid structure, and it has been known, absolutely.
Yeah.
Not
Well,
wildly. It wasn't a case that people were just going around and stealing bones and killing people and sticking their bones between
yeah.
brick spacers. But yeah,
It was crazy. Just learning so much about this incredible area and the hardships, and, going down into the vaults. And there's so much. I'm just going to, of course, let you go wherever it is that you want to start. Well, thank you, Sam. There we go. And yeah, City of the Dead, best tour company in Edinburgh. Yes, it is.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yes, it is.
yeah, we've been doing it a long time now. It's
So,
yeah, we've been doing it a long time.
how
Uh,
long have you guys been there? How many years?
the company was founded in 1999 by the current owner, who's still the owner, the award-winning author, Jan Andrew Henderson.
Wow.
He started the company back in 1999, originally documenting the sort of hauntings that were coming out in the press and the strange happenings within Greyfriars Kirkyard. Kirkyard, I will refer to Greyfriars as a kirkyard. Kirkyard, if you don't know, is the Scots for churchyard. Church, kirk being a church.
Right.
And that's what it's classed as. It's the churchyard. So Greyfriars Kirkyard is official title. So back then, Jan did start. He thought it would make a great book. These strange, occurrences people were being interacted with by this unseen force. So he started, researching and researching. Eventually led him to, starting a tour company and to investigate the happenings more. And we, once the council kind of locked the gates, we may well go into this more detail later.
Yes.
And he ended up getting access to continue his research and then founding City of the Dead tours to get lots of people from all over the world, from different backgrounds, different beliefs, to come on and see what experiences they have. And it is now, we've got over 3,000 eyewitness accounts over the years, and it is the most documented paranormal case in the world. And it was Jan that named this haunting the Mackenzie Poltergeist for the book, The Ghost That Haunted Itself, which is the actual early documentation of how the company started. So yeah, 26 years the company's been running now, and we still have early access to the Covenanters prison in Greyfriars, the area that is the epicenter for what he called the Mackenzie Poltergeist. But due to certain things and other things, and online especially, there's obviously a lot of fabrication. There's a lot of made up stuff about the case that's it's kind of lost the true case file for it. Back.
Yeah, I mean, it happens, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, that's the joy.
Buildings burn down, things happen, things get moved. Yeah.
And it does. It loses a sense, but yeah, it's fun. We all enjoy what we do. Every day is different. We're a unique tour company in the sense as our guides are not scripted. When you have an active poltergeist, the most documented in the world, I think it's one of these things you cannot be scripted because if something kicks off, you cannot. It's beyond a script. So all our guides are very different. The way they do the tours, the style, the stories, it's all very different. So we are a very unique tour company, and it works for us. We all love what we do. Well, I do anyway. And
I think it has to be a labor of love because just according to the whole Mackenzie Poltergeist, you really are taking your life into your own hands every time you go near this guy. So it's a fabulous thing because I have to say, in doing the tours and coming into that area, you just people they tend to verse themselves a little bit. For the most part, people know this is the home of the Mackenzie Poltergeist. And when you're going in, the guide was very good at saying, look, this is what you're going to have to expect. If you have any fears, stay right here because we do not know nor can we control what is going to happen. And so there's a disclaimer, people. You get the warning right off the hop. But when you're going in, you feel the energy of the people, like they're bracing themselves. And I'm thinking you're letting off all kinds of yummy endorphins. Keep going, because people don't realize, as a person in the field for a couple of decades, that we can attract a lot of this to us based on our reaction to it. And you felt it going in mostly from the group. And by the time you got there and you got inside, the crypt itself, the mausoleum itself, the heaviness, you're just waiting for it because I think people are just so anxious.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's certainly one of the theories that's been passed about the years. My main problem with this over the years is, looking at poltergeist cases. I mean, although it was named poltergeist because it has a traits of a poltergeist and it can throw stones, it can physically touch you, it can mark, it can leave scratches, bruises, bite marks, burns. It can grab you, it can make things vanish, reappear, drop stones out the roof. Growling, disembodied voice we've had reports of. But over the years, the thing that's concerned me most, looking at poltergeist cases going back to the Bell Witch in Wisconsin in, the 1880s with Betsy Bell, go back to that to even up through Borley Rectory, San Paulo, the Japanese one, there was, Enfield, even looking at the Amityville, which we now know was obviously a lot of it was fabricated. Even the movie Poltergeist, they all had the epicenter,
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
epicenter of the poltergeist case,
Mm-hmm.
and this, although Jan called it a poltergeist, it has the same traits and it did back then, without a doubt,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't have an epicenter. It's completely random. So the pheromone
Okay.
theory has been thrown in before, where it's a combination and an accumulation of,
Mm-hmm.
the energy built up, and then suddenly at certain points, if the conditions are correct, it
Mm-hmm.
just, snaps and it creates whatever, and this gives the energy
Mm-hmm.
in one with a build-up of people's fear and the energy, like you said, being produced from people's different feelings. And of course, then that causes this to happen. Again, it's a theory, but
Mm-hmm.
we still don't know, and we just still don't have science available to us at this
Mm-hmm.
present day to, determine
Mm-hmm.
or disprove or prove or, otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah, it does defy the traditional poltergeist of being a self-projection or manifested energy. You look at the ancient Ram Inn, much similar. I mean, that poltergeist there, which does have an epicenter, has been known to like throw people across the room. Like,
Mm.
I don't think people realize that these, this type of energy can be very, very aggressive as it has time to just manifest over year after year, never mind century after century.
Yeah.
You know, do you guys have a team at all that has gone in to investigate some of this information for yourselves?
Um,
Year to
yeah, I
year,
mean, we used to.
especially?
We used to. In 2007, though, the council who owned Greyfriars, a lot of people believe it's public ground. It's actually not. It's owned by the City of Edinburgh Council.
Okay.
The bereavement services, they own the grounds and they are in charge of it. They manage it. They allow public access. They
Mhm.
can, if they want, can lock the gates at any time and stop public access to the kirkyard.
Wow.
So they stopped investigations in 2007. They banned
Wow.
any forms. This was created, unfortunately, by a lot of people who weren't respecting the grounds. So they just put out a full. So
Mhm.
we're all aware that it's not allowed. Unfortunately, it doesn't stop people. A lot of people don't know about it, or they just go ahead and do it anyway. So there's a
Mhm.
lot of things do appear on YouTube.
Right.
Fortunately, the epicenter of the whole case is within the locked Covenanters prison, which is locked at all times unless we let
Yeah,
you
of
in.
course.
So,
Yes.
we can control that. But yeah, I mean, pre 2007, yeah, there was teams. We used to have Ghost Fest in Edinburgh, which was an event with different venues and different companies. We had overnight,
Mm.
vigils and information. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. I mean, now because the case has been, it's just widely known. So there is that scope for
Mhm.
different things. It's difficult.
Yeah.
It all comes back to the one person, which unfortunately,
Mhm.
at the time when Jan called it the Mackenzie Poltergeist, he never named it after a Mackenzie.
Mhm.
This whole George Mackenzie thing, we'll
Yeah.
get into that. I will go into that.
Right.
This is all public speculation. You know,
Mhm.
there's not just
Yes.
George Mackenzie in that mausoleum. There's several Mackenzies. It was
Mhm.
named after that after the homeless guy in 1998 broke into the Mackenzie Mausoleum, and that's what Jan thinks triggered the incidences within the prison area because it was
Mhm.
literally about a week after it,
Mhm.
and that's what he believes triggered these. So he named it the Mackenzie Poltergeist for the book after the mausoleum because that was the pivotal, he thinks, starting point of this thing.
Okay.
So he didn't think that people would then take it as to be this person
That's
from
so
real life.
literal.
It doesn't have to be a real person.
Yes.
You know, poltergeists are energy. They're not,
Yes.
so everybody now believes that it's this Lord Advocate, Sir George Mackenzie, Rose Hall running about attacking people after his death. When
Mhm.
unfortunately you could be, more wrong.
Yes.
I believe, somebody who's looked at George Mackenzie's life, studied him, and as a person, no, he's
Mhm.
portrayed as this torturing, you know, bloody. I mean, he wasn't called Bloody Mackenzie until the 1700s, and the Romanticism novels were written. That's all a baddie.
Mhm.
So it's that calling that's where the whole Bloody Mackenzie came from. He was Lord Advocate. He worked his entire life in law to get to where he was. He was one under the king. He made the laws in Scotland. He was an
Wow.
intelligent individual.
Wow.
You know, uh, yeah, it's difficult. At that point in time, 1600s, you were either with the king or you were against the king. There was no middle ground. If you were against the king, it was high treason. You were hung, drawn, and quartered. You were executed.
Mhm.
You know, and unfortunately, his job as a judge, no matter what his personal feelings were, these people, so he did send people to their deaths. Of course he did. He was a judge. It was his job. They'd been found guilty in a court of law. You know, he wasn't the jury. He wasn't the prosecution. He was the judge. It was his
Yeah.
job to pass
Messenger.
sentence. If he'd shown any leniency towards anybody, it would have been looked at and it would have been seen as why are you taking leniency on him? Because he was Lord Advocate, he would have been made an example of horrendously.
Mhm.
You know, nobody's exempt from the king. If you're against the king, it's high treason. You're dead. Simple as. He did not
Wow.
spend his life to get to where he was to go against the king, no matter what his personal feelings were.
Mhm.
The fact the man was wanted and basically said, you know, after his death, he wanted to be put in Greyfriars. His mausoleum, his family mausoleum, was built before he died in a presbytery graveyard. He was not against the presbyteries. He
Mhm.
was Presbyterian. You know, he was in a difficult situation, you know.
Mhm.
But people would have you believe that he came and he was murdering people in the street. You know, no, he wasn't. He
Yeah.
risked his life early in his career. This is why he was so highly respected. Early in his career, when the witch trials were still going on, he actually started the basically to get the witch trials abolished in Scotland because he was strictly against the use of torture in confessions. He didn't believe it. So this whole he was torturing her, you know, no, he wasn't. He was against torture,
Mhm.
and he stopped the witch trials in Scotland. So
Wow.
you know, he
Wow.
wasn't a misogynist at all. People have you believe he's a misogynist.
Yeah.
You know, so much for the prison area as well. People believe that he had them personally imprisoned in the area. No, he didn't. George Mackenzie, if you look at the documentation and the research that's done, he was out not even in Scotland when they were kept in the prison. He was in London. The prisoners, the 1,200 Covenanters who were captured after the Battle of Bothwell Brig in 1679,
Mhm.
they were marched. There was nowhere big enough in Edinburgh to keep that many people. So basically, the church had already bought land to the south of Greyfriars Kirk for burials. It hadn't been used, but it had already been walled in. It was going to be the south yard.
Mhm.
So they decided that this field was the place to keep them, the only place to keep them. So they approached the church. Church said, no, we're not having anything to do with it. Not at all. You know, this has
Mhm.
been 50 years going on. You know, we've been involved far too much. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Enough.
the only man who could override the church in Scotland on land issues, not church issues, but land issues, was Lord Advocate Sir George Mackenzie. He could override the church because it was land. It was nothing to do with the church. It was just, you know, product.
Mhm.
So he was in London. The prisoners were marched. They were held outside Edinburgh for 4 nights because they had to wait on the paperwork coming back from London that was signed to allow them basically a warrant from Lord Mackenzie to allow them to be kept in the south yard of Greyfriars Kirkyard. So he wasn't even in Scotland. So the people that come out with he was up here torturing them behind the gates, and you know, he was Lord Advocate of the country. He didn't do any of that. He's
Mm.
just
Yeah.
there's so much made up about the man, you know, and I certainly
Mhm.
don't think it's George Mackenzie running about the place after death, scratching people up and attacking people. You know, if it's anybody, if it has to be anything, I would
Mhm.
think it would be somebody who was actually imprisoned there for 4 months over the harsh Scottish winter for what they believe in.
That would make a lot of sense. I mean, when you're thinking about the fact that, poltergeists are, this manifestation of energy, and you're looking at this one space with people just living that entire experience. But put that over time, person after person after person, day after day after day, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That is going to produce a lot of rage and anger, and you have people coming in after that now, and that energy just
No,
if
absolutely.
just
I mean, yeah, I
yeah.
mean, the thing is, when they were in prison there, I mean, it wasn't they weren't tortured. They were tortured, but not physically. You know,
Yes.
basically, I mean, the reason they were marched there was the government wanted to make an example of them, to say, look, this is basically the end of the Covenant movement. You know, this
Mhm.
is all that's left. They wanted to make a public execution of them. You know, to
Mhm.
make a public, you know, spectacle, to make sure it wasn't, you know, going to happen again. That was the whole reasoning behind why they
Mhm.
weren't just summary executed on the battlefield.
Mhm.
Usually they would be. You know, the government troops overrid them, so you know they would just kill them.
Mhm.
But so they could leave at any time they wanted to, the prison, if they
Oh.
basically recognised the king as the head of the church. That was it. That's all they wanted. They would repent and they would recognise and basically swear not to take up arms against the king again. And people are like, well, why didn't they just do that to get out? You know, we're not in the 1600s. You know,
Yeah.
we can never imagine what it was like for them. Religion was all these people had. Okay, they were willing to die on a battlefield for what they believed in. It was that much, and they weren't about to just change their mind just to get out of a situation. You know, they truly believed. You know, and you know, it's something that we, you know, we never understand being in that situation. You know, it was a sad time, so they were willing to die. You know, and it's several hundred, you know, over almost 800 did lose their life behind their gates just because, not because of the physical torture, it was the mental torture. You know, they were made to face down in the mud in the rain because it was over the winter, no shelter. And you know, if they were seen to be talking or communicating, then the person on the right would be shot. You know, to as a Presbyterian, to have somebody, you know, killed because of your actions, something you had done, then you know that's worse than death. You're responsible for somebody's death. You know, so it was to break them. They were there to break them. It was the world's first concentration camp, but it was to break their spirit, to either basically so they died or they would repent. And it was horrendous, absolutely horrendous.
I can't even imagine what those people had to go through. And I think when you're looking at the entire area, just of the Royal Mile, even, you know, there's such a concentration of people within, you know, how many miles or kilometers back then. It's just there's just a compilation of so much mixed energy and all hardship. It was all hardship, you know, taking aside even the prison area. I mean, the stories we were told was like, I mean, anybody listening who has not done this, I mean, if I lived in Scotland, I'd be doing it regularly, seriously, because it really is, it just far exceeds the spirit activity. You really feel it when you walk in. I've traveled so many incredible places throughout the world, and it's always, you know, Scotland is always that one place that never leaves you. And
Yeah,
it's things like this when you just the will of the people, all of these stories and the hardships, but so also so many, you know, victories as well. But it took a lot in those days to get to that point. So you end up with people who come on having these experiences, and there's no rhyme or reason as to is it like any specific person that gets attacked, or there's just no rhyme or reason to who the
no,
lucky who the lucky person is going to be that time around.
completely random. We've tried to, you know, we've
Wow.
had people, you know, people in the statistics and stuff to try and break it down, you know,
Hmm.
from the eyewitness accounts and things, and no, it's totally random, totally random.
Hmm.
There's no uniform to it whatsoever. You know, it can range from
Hmm.
believers to non-believers to, you know, to yeah, totally
Hmm.
random.
Right. Do you get those people that just go in there and try to taunt and to try
Yeah,
to, yeah.
yeah, it has happened. There's been a few attempts that it, you know, a few times that it has actually, you know, answered,
Yeah.
which is comical. That they're always the best ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun because you know the guys, as much as we like to have a laugh on the tour as well, we do know how serious it is because we've seen it
Hmm.
firsthand. You know, it does become part of the job. Yeah, people. I once did a podcast many years ago who the host just couldn't believe how, you know, blasé I was about, you know, people getting attacked and getting knocked out cold and coming away with scratches that, you know, and people freaking out about this. It just becomes part of the job. It's just it's normal for us, which
Hmm.
doesn't sound normal to most people, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's one of these things. It just happens. You know, we're all ready for it when it happens because we expect it, but
Hmm.
it is totally random. It is totally. If we could tell, it would be fun. But no, like we say to people on a tour, you know, that is one of the things that most guides do say because it is a kind of warning at the end of the day, a legal disclaimer that you
Hmm.
do join us at your own risk, and some people laugh at that.
Hmm.
No, we're absolutely serious. I mean, if you get knocked
Yes.
out cold and you go down and crack your head open or something, which can be serious, it's no laughing matter. There is
Hmm.
times that, you know, it is a serious medical issue can occur because of it. You
Hmm.
know, so it is a legal disclaimer. You do join us at your own risk, but beware that whatever you believe in, It doesn't matter. It makes no sense. It makes no difference to us whatsoever. I
Mm-hmm.
don't care if you believe or you don't believe. We're not here to change your mind. But
Mm-hmm.
just because you believe or don't believe in something doesn't mean it's not going to happen to you. Do you think that it just sits there and goes, right, oh, wait a minute, you don't believe in me, I'm going to leave you alone. Okay, next. You don't believe in me either. No, I'm going to leave you. You believe in me. No, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if you believe it. It's not going to stop it.
It just
Plenty of
happens.
believers have been interacted with.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yes. Well,
yeah,
you definitely felt when he, when the guy came out with that disclaimer sort of thing, because everybody's kind of going through things, everybody's talking, you see everybody's kind of upbeat, but then the serious part comes in, which is the disclaimer, and this is exactly a lot of things that they explained. This has happened, this has happened, this has happened, so you need to be prepared that the possibility is this could happen, and that's on you. You're fully aware now. We've made you aware, so to speak, more legal, more properly worded. But what I got out of it was like, yes, of my own free will, I fully know what I'm to expect, and I'm the one taking that chance.
yeah.
You
And
know.
when that
So,
gate gets locked behind you, it's certainly, yeah.
yes.
The
So
atmosphere does change. It does change. I mean, even during the day. I mean, I'll spend a lot of time in the prison during the day. Usually, the graveyard gets a little bit too busy, so I'll just take 10 minutes, just wander up to the prison and lock myself in the prison just to
right.
get away from it. And yeah, I mean that was. I mean, even the atmosphere does.
Oh,
No,
yeah. There you
it
are.
does change. It does change.
Hmm. Well, everybody, the whole demeanor of the crowd just kind of went. It just dropped.
Yeah,
Like they're like, oh, okay, so this is the serious part
yeah,
of the tour with respects to, be aware of your surroundings, just be aware of what's going on. And sometimes it's those who are unsuspecting. Everybody's looking at each other, wondering, who's
yeah,
going to do what, and everybody's trying to be very still because you want to hear what's going on. So it's a good environment for that because you're inside, and if something moves around, which was pretty amazing to me, I can only speak of the night I was there because it was a fair sized crowd, and everybody just went very quietly, like there was a full awareness or trying to tap into what could be moving around.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. I mean that's one of the things that's parapsychologists come out with over the years. Especially with the scratches. People kind of do that to themselves. They don't realize, or they do it, to themselves on purpose. And it's a case of you've been in that situation. So when
Yes.
you're in a situation in that mausoleum and you have maybe 15, 20 people,
Mm.
around you,
Yes.
because everybody's at that state, and yourself standing there. If somebody was to so much as move a foot, you'd be straight on them.
Mhm.
People are straight on them straight away. So,
Yes.
like, what are you doing? Because people are on edge. You
Mhm.
know, for people to scratch themselves and give themselves cat-like scratches under layers of clothes,
Mhm.
5 layers of clothes, under boots, you
Mhm.
know, without anybody seeing them, without them moving, and to get it perfect, the 3 lines like cat scratches. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I will argue with psychologists and things. People do not do that to themselves. They can't do that to themselves. Not in a situation like that. Nah.
Well, can I show some of the pictures that you
Yeah.
sent with this? It's just to give people a complete example as to how it cannot be what you say it is here. So here we go. We're going to share. It should pop right up. There we go. So I'll just scroll through. Like this is not a cat scratch, you know.
No,
Um,
that's like a big handprint, a big slap.
yeah, that there's just no way. I mean, like this
Yeah,
is right here.
that's like Nettles things. I remember this customer. She had a panic in the vault, and I wasn't on the tour, but I was in the office. That was a couple of Halloweens ago. She felt that she was being strangled, that she was grabbed by the throat, and she was in quite a state. But yeah, that this was a result. Like her hands weren't near her throat though. Like she wasn't grabbing herself. She
Yeah,
felt she couldn't breathe and something was crushing her windpipe.
right. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the 3 scratches, they're not human scratches.
No, no, not at all. They're very deep. You can see how they're just sort of rising up a little
Yeah.
bit.
And that's taken after the tour because that's in our office. You can tell from the background. Some of the
Wow.
pictures are to be sent, um, afterwards, people were like, "Oh, I've noticed it tonight," which does happen. A lot of people don't realise they've been interacted with until later, or somebody points it out. But
Yeah.
you've always got to be dubious if somebody's sending you a picture 3 days later. Obviously we know what's real, what's not, but we take them at face value. But the ones that are taken after the tour in our office that are fresh, yeah, they're a little bit more hard to,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's the lines on the neck. That's a bruise. Yeah.
That's crazy right there. Yeah.
That was actually, well, it wasn't a child. I think they were 17. A student, and yeah, he thought it felt like he was grabbed, like a vice was put around his arm. That
Oh,
was that one. I remember that one too.
that's insane. That's insane. Anybody that looks at that, wow, see the bruises, like,
Yeah, like fingerprints. Yeah, that's quite common.
wow, that's a hard grab. But it just goes to show you, like, it varies. They're all very, very different. This isn't anything like little scratch marks. That's just very specific. What you
Yeah,
can say, yes, this is a thing. This isn't a thing. This is all like very different sort of attacks. Yeah, see
it
more
likes the neck,
bruising.
sort of fingerprints on the neck and things like that, grabbing the neck. That's where most of the sort of bruises are felt, around about the neck area.
Wow.
So it's got
The
factuation
scratches.
for
Yeah.
necks.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but yeah, all the scratches were welted and stuff. Yeah, that was a strange one.
This is unusual.
It's almost like sort of spine. It's like spine segment.
Yeah. Yeah. Or somebody just took a boot to you, that's crazy.
Yeah,
That's craziness. Like what those are deep.
yeah. But that's the most common. There's the three, well, the line is welted like cat scratches. Yeah. It's the
Hmm.
most common ones that are inflicted.
Wow. Yeah. That's craziness. It's just yeah. So I don't know. I mean people just yeah, see a lot of the scratches.
Yeah. It's certainly the most common. It's like a burn. Yeah, I had a few burns.
That's crazy.
Even with the scratches though, most people report within 12 hours they're completely gone. Very rarely they'll hang about for about 4 or 5 days, You would think there'd be, if people do get cat scratches, they're there for quite a while. But no, most people report they're going within,
Mm-hmm.
the most is about sort of 48 hours, and then there's no marks at all.
Hmm. Yeah, this one again. Yeah, it's crazy. You just have to yeah, see, she got off not too bad.
Yeah,
But this person, this is nuts.
got
Yeah.
thousands, absolutely thousands of them. Yeah,
I know, I guess you could just sit there and it can go on and on and on. There's
yeah,
just so much that's clearly there's something going on and it's not real happy.
yeah,
Here's one I wanted to show here because it's really, really brutal. And so just to show the severity of it. Okay, 1 second. I'll bring this back on. Let me pull this one up. Okay, there we go. Is this it? Yeah, this is just craziness. Um, all right, bring this back, bring this back, bring this back. Oh my God, bit of a process. I apologize. That's
yeah.
crazy.
It's a welt one. Yeah,
Yeah, because this happens. I think what people need to remember is that it happens very suddenly.
yeah, it
Like,
does. Yeah, you
just,
can't tell. Yeah,
you know. Do you ever figure that maybe there's more than one thing at play here, or?
it's quite possible. There could be a combination. Absolutely. Nothing's off
Yeah.
the sort of the
Yeah.
theory chart. To be fair, like I said, we just don't know.
Mhm.
It could well be. It could well be.
Yeah. That's nuts. So, uh, well, there were lots of different attacks. Okay. I'm just going to see. I'm not sure. Have you? Yeah, take it. Yeah, you've been. But okay. So have you been? You say you woke up with scratch. Oh, a couple years back. Have you been on the tour? Out of curiosity. So I mean, things definitely. There are things out there. But so he's basically the star of the show, so to speak, with respect to the what people go waiting for, and most of the experiences happen, or what other sites. I found the vaults to be very interesting. When
Yeah,
I was there, something just pitched a stone out in our direction, and it dropped literally beside
yeah,
us, which
yeah.
is
That happens quite a lot. Yeah, there's sort of movement of stones quite a bit. Yeah, the vaults are different. I mean, obviously, there's not as much history. There's 600 years of history in the vaults. They were only built in the late 1700s. But you know, certainly the hardships that went on in the vaults, and the people living there, and the disease that went through it, the cholera and dysentery and typhoid
Mhm.
that wiped out a lot of the people living there. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of bad feelings left in the vaults.
So what's the story officially behind the vaults? Like why
Well,
are they
the
so
vault
active?
basically, I mean, the vaults were built originally between 1785 and 88. It's part of the bridge that spans the gap of the Cowgate. It was built to access the south side of the city. At that
Mhm.
point, Edinburgh was, we were called the Athens of the North. Unfortunately, the Cowgate has slipped into a bit of being basically a slum at that point. There was a lot of down and outs down there. It was a rough area.
Mhm.
The south side, that was going to house what is now the University Quad, and that whole area. It wasn't built at that point, but it was going to be getting built. Robert Adam had already built, done the plans for it. They knew exactly where it was going to be going. So
Mhm.
that was the sort of extension of the south side. Now, the council at the time, they had two options. They could either clear the Cowgate, make it attractive like the new town that was being built, to make access to the south side and the university buildings all nice and attractive, uh, or they could just build a bridge over the top of it, just let it rot. Cheaper option.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
South Bridge was basically designed and built to access the south side from the Royal Mile, the High Street, to join North Bridge. So the two
Mhm.
massive bridges built against basically across the two valleys. If you look at the Royal Mile from the castle to Holyrood, it's a straight line. It's a natural rock formation, crag and tail, carved out of glaciers over thousands of years of movement of the earth, and that's
Mhm.
what basically causes the geology in Edinburgh is the Seven Hills. That's why we're all up and down. So the best option was to put two bridges against the two valleys.
Mhm.
So Southbridge was designed and built, like I said, between 1784 and 85. It was always designed to have the tenement buildings on the side of it. Some people will have you believe that they were built up over time, and eventually the arches were hidden. And that's what no. It was always designed from day one. The bridge
Mhm.
was designed to have the vaults and to be used as storage, because that
Mhm.
extra storage would be let out to the businesses as an extra, and that would pay for the upkeep of the bridge, the money that they would make for that.
Mhm.
So South Bridge is held up by 19 massive arches. It's over 1,078 feet in length. It runs from the Tron Kirk on the High Street right up to basically the corner of Chambers Street where the University Quad buildings is now. It's
Mhm.
massive, 19 arched viaduct structure. The only arch you can see is the Cowgate one where the traffic goes through. The other 18 are concealed behind the tenements. So you imagine a
Mhm.
straight line, and then you've got four blocks, one, two, three, four, covering the arches on either side. You
Mhm.
see, the bridge is only 55 foot from pavement to pavement. So if they were to put shops on the bridge as it stood, it would be too narrow. It'd be like this. There'd be no space whatsoever. The whole point was to open it up and open up the south side.
Mhm.
It was Edinburgh's first purposely built shopping street. You got to remember, the Royal Mile was not purposely built. It was carved at thousands of years of glaciers. Yeah, they put
Wow.
shops on it, they built shops on it, but it wasn't. The street itself was not built. It's natural. So the
Mhm.
South Bridge was Edinburgh's first purposely built shopping street for the high society. So it needed shops. That's where the
Yes.
buildings come in. The buildings do not only cover the arches, but they also provide the shops on level four. They go up like this. So
Mhm.
level four from Cowgate level is the shop level, because that's all that mattered. That was high society. That was South Bridge Street. So
Yes.
up there, so basically, yeah, the buildings cover the arches, and then the arches were then separated. They were then floored. Some of them were floored. The corridors that ran down either side of the bridge that
Mhm.
accessed all these from the business premises behind the tenements, and that was the plan. And it was a great idea. It was a huge feat of engineering for its time. It was massive.
Mhm.
Um, Unfortunately, though, because we're Scottish and we're not, we are known for saving money on things. We decided not to waterproof it. Why should we? It never rains in Edinburgh. We don't need to waterproof it.
Right.
So
I'm with you.
from day one,
Yeah.
water sits on the surface and it leaks through it. It seeps into the vaults, makes them useless. You can't work in the conditions. You certainly can't keep, stock in these conditions. They're damp.
Mhm.
So the businesses started abandoning the vaults as early as sort of 1790. Um, which is only 2 years after the sort of bridge officially happened, which is amazing because the last tenement building wasn't finished until 1792
Mhm.
at the top end. So, businesses were abandoning the vaults before the bridge was even finished fully. Although the
Mhm.
bridge opened in 1788, the tenements were still being built. It wasn't finished till 1792,
Mm.
roughly. So they started abandoning them, and the businesses started basically bricking up their entrances to say, look, we're not using them, so we're not paying for them. So you can't charge us for them because we've got no access.
Mhm.
So they kind of fell into no man's land. At first it was the legal trades that took them on. Anything was illegal above ground. Because it's massive. It's absolutely massive. When it was first opened for business, it was all interconnected.
Mhm.
It was an underground warren of tunnels and chambers over 3 floors.
Mm.
Massive, long corridors, dark. Tunnels that went to dead ends, and it was a labyrinth.
Yes.
Nowadays, because it's sectioned off, it's all different layouts, but you can get an idea.
Mhm.
So it was a formidable place, and if you didn't know where you were going, it could be easy to get lost. Absolutely.
Mhm.
But, illegal trades didn't really bother anybody. They went there and broke the law, left. They weren't a problem. It was when people started living there because there was nowhere else to go.
Mhm.
The unfortunate, people who were forced out of their natural environments through economical, geological, and industrial changes.
Mhm.
They needed shelter. They weren't welcome in the streets. We made it perfectly clear that we didn't want them here. We
Mhm.
had enough problems. So, the vaults, it was shelter, it was free, but it was horrendous and
Mhm.
badly built for storage. And it was even worsely built for humans. It was never intended for humans to live there.
Mhm.
And it was horrendous. Yeah, cholera took over pretty quick. Yeah.
I can't imagine the conditions. Um, I mean, it's one thing to see them because even when you go through the tour now, you see that they're pretty much, let's face it, it's pretty much cleaned up. It's all lit up. I'll show some photos
Yeah.
shortly, but I mean, it would have been pretty much pitch black down there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was no light source. The only lights they would have had would be, candles made of whale blubber, fish
Yeah.
oil burners. They were known as. We found a couple during excavations. The original fish oil burners that would basically held the whale blubber that you would light. Not an awful lot of light, as a green sort of tinge, bluey tinge, sparky sort of light.
Mm-hmm.
Or animal fat candles, which were a luxury. So no light would be. No open fires. So we would have had open fires in there, burning anything they could. So the smell, the smoke, it was
Mm-hmm.
horrendous, absolutely horrendous. The smell of you know toilet, human. Yeah, no, absolutely not pleasant at all.
Mm-hmm. No, no, I can't imagine. I'm just gearing up some photos. I feel it's just I don't know how anybody could have expected anybody to live like that. I it just it, so inhumane when you
Yeah,
think about the things that we've as a society have put certain groups of people in. Okay, I'll put this up. Oop, hold on. All right, and. I know the experiences are incredible, and we were only in a section,
yeah,
right? Like, it's very
agreed.
vast.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. We're fortunate to have a massive section, over 3 floors. Yeah, yeah.
okay, so here we go. Um, so feel free to jump in any point. I'm just gonna put them, across. Um, so
So,
yeah,
yeah, so this is the last vault before the ramp going down to the end section, the old courtyard for the mortuary. Yeah,
so you look at this, and it's so clean for
yeah.
what it is. It's so clean, it's lit up, but it would not have been at all like this.
No, no, definitely not. I mean, well, yeah, pretty much. I mean, there is parts that I don't know if all the guides do it, but I certainly there's the vault before the big ramp, the long one. I will
Mm,
uh, I will turn the torch off and blow the candles out, and yeah, you see how dark it is. It's you can't even see your hand in front of your face.
wow.
Pitch black.
Yeah, okay, so this is going into another
That's
area, I
the
guess?
Yeah, that's going into the vaults from outside. Yeah,
Okay, okay.
that's the entrance through the tenements. Yeah, that's the exit part before you head outside. Yeah,
Wow. That's a better look at it here.
yeah, slightly lighter. Yeah, the archways. That's the dead end corridor.
It's not very big. So how many people at any given time would have been in these small spaces? Like,
Well, I
at
mean,
capacity?
certainly. I mean, a lot of guides may tell you that that there was hundreds sharing these small vaults that were roughly. it's 12 feet wide by 15 feet long by 8 feet high. No, the place was massive, and there was no need for people to be crammed into certain parts. It was vast enough to have, so it wouldn't be crammed like that. It was just where anybody could get their own kind of space. There was loads of space. Didn't
Yeah.
make it any more pleasant, but yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. It's unbelievable. Now, I mean, were they down here 24/7 or just at night or just
Yeah, I mean, they would. I'm not saying they were in there all the time. I mean, they would have went outside, I would imagine. But they did trade amongst each other. This is where it becomes known as the Underground City. We didn't call it the Underground City. The
Mhm,
Southbridge Vaults were known as the Underground City
mhm,
purely because there was a population of people living, and they were trading amongst each other. So they became a community.
mhm,
Because we understand, and some people do point out that they come on the tour called the Underground City. They expect to see old streets and old houses. It's not like that. There is no such place. There is no underground city hidden in Edinburgh. What you have is various different things that we've reused foundations on top. Because again, we don't like spending money. The
mm,
place, Mary King's Close, is a fine example of this. Where we just basically used the foundations, we leveled it off, and instead of
mhm,
building brand new foundations,
mhm,
we reused what was already existing, which in this case was the bottom half of houses. And we
mm,
built on top to level everything out on when the Royal Exchange, the city chambers were built. We just used it as foundations. We knew it was there. We knew exactly what we were doing. It
mhm,
wasn't hidden. We just reused it instead of knocking it flat. And
mhm,
that's when it became underground. And
mhm,
that is certainly part of the old Edinburgh. It's part of from the 1600s, and it is an old street.
mhm,
But nobody lived in it underground. People weren't forced to live there during extreme poverty, so
mhm.
it doesn't qualify as the underground city. It's just
Right.
the old street, and it's fascinating to see for historical purposes.
Mhm,
It's well worth a visit. But the
mhm,
vaults, there was a population of people living there in extreme poverty within
mhm,
these vaulted chambers, so they became a community. So it was known as the underground city. Yeah, but people
mhm,
do point out, well, why is it called an underground city when it's not? It's just cellars. It's like, well, you've really got to be there and understand what the guide's telling you, because
mhm,
that's when it comes to life in your head. You imagine, and that's this whole point. Then it's not just empty cellars. Ghost stories aside, people live and die within these chambers, and that has to be respected at all times.
mhm,
And if we can bring at least a couple of them back to life for a second, to remember them, then brilliant. Because it was
mhm,
horrendous, and these people deserve to be remembered, not just sort of pushed aside. And it was horrendous
mhm,
for them. Yeah,
mm. Yeah, I mean, you're getting into the ancient world, and it wasn't uncommon to build over top of everything.
yeah,
I think there are sections, throughout, Scotland, among other places
yeah.
where you can look down and you see there's a whole other level down there that were all shops or homes and
Mm.
like it's just really so I think a lot of people would look at this as well. It's just one more example. You just don't realize so the space around it's just so small. It's not even just going small underneath here. It's just a whole group of people that were pretty much forced together because everybody wanted to be in the safety of that place also, right? Anybody coming in
Yeah,
from the sea, attack, war, all of that. This was a safe zone that people had to, many people, even influential people were trying to be up top
yeah,
within this space.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was a fight for everything. Basically, there it was a fight for survival, really, more than anything. They
Mhm,
traded amongst each other. Money was no good when you got a life expectancy of between 3 and 9 months.
mhm,
Money's no good to you. You'd either die before you got to use it, or you'd be robbed. So they would trade amongst each other. During
mhm,
excavations, we found stone carvings, wood carvings, bits of metal that had been made, yeah, like
yeah,
jewelry. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. Yeah, to find the artifacts. Yeah,
yeah,
they traded amongst each other to survive for whatever they could. But you would have people going out to get scraps of food. I found during the first lockdown, I found an animal bone dump in the vaults in one of the corners,
mhm,
and that was interesting, pulling out all the bones of sheep's heads and yeah, horse jaws. I found
mhm.
lots of bones and ribs, and amongst it, I found a chihuahua skeleton. Yeah,
Wow,
a chihuahua
really?
skeleton. Yeah, a chihuahua skeleton.
Wow,
And that's
wow.
this was dating from about 1824, 1825, which was before, but there was a lot of merchants in the Cowgate which would have used a little,
Yeah.
ship bags like that for ships and stuff. Because let's face it, cats, although they're notorious for being on ships, cats weren't used that much because cats were temperamental. If they didn't want to get mice or rats, they would, one could run in front of it, just
Just
let it
get a
go.
chihuahua.
Yeah, or they would go for anything. Jack Russell or Chihuahua straight after them. So they were used before they were domesticated and then registered in the country, because they weren't registered in the UK until I think 1860s or something. But it's a Chihuahua. I've identified it as, I've got the skull, got a couple of the back and a couple of the leg bones. So the rest of it will be in there somewhere. But yeah, a Chihuahua, which is it. I don't understand why it was in the bone dump with the other animals like cows and sheep and pigs and things. But yeah.
Yeah,
So
unless it
that
was
one
scavenging, I was gonna say they're not good eating. I've got two, and they're about 3
They're tiny,
pounds a piece.
angry little.
They are,
Yeah,
but they would go for the meat if it was something.
absolutely. Yeah, nothing would stand a chance. Rats, were perfect. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Chihuahuas were used on ships for many years. Yeah, they're vicious.
I did not know that. I knew they were sent to Africa to herd rhinos, but I
Yeah,
never guessed that they would have had them on. I know, if you could picture that. So they're little ankle
yeah,
biters, I guess. I don't know.
yeah, absolutely. And rats don't stand a chance around them. Yeah. Rats are.
No. Probably be close to the same size. Quick question. Have any psychic mediums that you're aware of tried to go into these areas and heal some of the energy in these places?
Yeah, I mean, back in was it 2000? 2000? 1999. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember the date. Might have been 2001. It's widely known. It's in the records. It's online if you Google it. Yeah, there was a medium and a clairvoyant who was also an exorcist who
Mm.
tried.
Oh,
It was arranged by Edinburgh Evening News back in the early days of this haunting, where it didn't have a name.
mm.
The gentleman's name was Colin Grant. He was an
I
exorcist.
know. I knew of him. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great guy. Yeah.
He did it, but it might no. I think there's also an astrologist called Colin Grant.
Okay. I believe the one that I'm
Basically, one of them
aware
still
with is
alive, one
passed.
of
He's
them
passed
not.
away now.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
So he was a well-respected medium in Edinburgh. He'd done tarot reading. He'd done readings and all that stuff. He was approached by Edinburgh Evening News to do an exorcism of Greyfriars, obviously for the press,
Yeah.
cameras were there and all that stuff. So
Yes.
why they approached a Catholic exorcist to do a Presbytery graveyard, but he did. He arranged it and he agreed, and he collapsed halfway through it, saying the energy was too strong and he would have to stop. So of course that went to press, and the press blew up a little bit. 7 days later, he's given a reading in his house to a customer. Present is his wife, himself, and the person he was given a reading for. And halfway through the reading, he stops. He kind of looks up, and his last words were, "Greyfriars, there's no good news. There's just bad." And that was it. His heart stopped. He felt dead right there. So of course.
Wow. Oh, don't want to lose you now. It's just getting good. There we are. You're back.
I keep getting calls
Yeah,
that I can't put on flight mode because I'm not going to pick up the internet. So, his son obviously blamed the Greyfriars, and that's what it became. The press obviously blew up at that point. But yeah, ever since then, it was certainly interesting. It's definitely it's interesting. But we have some people who don't even know that they've got medium talents, coming on, coming in place, and suddenly they just feel that they can't move. They're kind of glued to the spot. They're kind of, just something doesn't feel right, and it kind of freaks them out. Yeah, it's.
That would be very overwhelming for somebody who, it's overwhelming for people who know that they have these abilities, but to not know and go into some of these spots, it would be like very intense.
It's certainly, it can certainly cause. But again, if you're in that situation in a group, then there's obviously a lot of people who then claim if something does happen that that we've planted somebody, or we've got an actor in the group to freak out, and we have never. We used to have what is known as a jump router. We had that for many, many years. Since we started. We'd have somebody in a mask who jumped out at your end. We've never hidden the fact. We've never denied it.
Right.
Jan, the owner, had always argued that people come on these tours to expect something, and if something doesn't happen, then they're kind of deflated, and which is fair enough, and to be fair, having them for years, it was fun, especially if you had a couple who were just not misbehaving, but just being
I had a sense experience with that. Like I said,
so
cool as a
it,
cucumber
it,
over here.
yeah, I mean, you knew it was going to happen. It was fun for the guide.
It's
And
fun.
some people enjoyed it, some people found it funny, so, but I found it got to a point where it was fine for a while, but then it kind of took away what we were doing. Why do we need to do this? Because there's a genuine there's a genuine thing here, and it kind of invalidates what the guides were saying. And a lot of people might have thought they've come along just for a guy in a mask to jump out of them. It was kind of, I can't say tacky, because it did work and it was fine, but over the years it just didn't suit what we were doing anymore. So yeah, I argued when I first took over as manager that and then COVID happened as well. So we decided at that point when we reopened to basically we would restart without.
I think
the
everything has its place.
Yeah.
If you had somebody who's like genuinely frightened, and you come across a jumper, you would lighten up. You'd be just like, oh, okay, this
It
is
was a
okay.
dangerous job. Yeah, it was a dangerous job as well for them sometimes.
Oh yeah, because some don't take it would not take it very kindly. I just laughed, and he's just like, "What is it going to take?" I don't even flinch. I said, "I don't know. It's not for not wanting to, but I do this stuff all the time. I do tours, so I think it's you precondition yourself."
Very, not a lot makes me jump, at all, or scared.
Yeah,
or
because
whatever,
you're preconditioned, and I think it's something in the back of your mind. And that's all I said. I said, honestly, if you got me coming around the corner unsuspecting, I'd probably be hanging off the tree. But because I'm going through a tour, I'm preconditioned from doing them myself in Canada at the time, that I was aware that anything could happen. So you're just on a different kind of alert.
Yeah, you're on constant alert, absolutely. Yeah, because you get used to it. It's just, or you get to the point where you expect it to happen. So you are on alert. But So I mean, it does work better. So no, but we've never, we've never faked anything. We've never had people in the group. We've never had plants in the group to feign. A lot of people claim, it's just no. We've never used that kind of thing. The jump was the only thing that we had. We don't, have special effects or smoke machines or things getting thrown, and we don't do any of that stuff because we don't need to. And why would we invalidate everything we've put together? Over almost 26 years. To fake something. People are fully aware, and the guides are as well, that we could go months without anybody being interacted with. Months. It's happened before. Months and months, and then you finally think,
You can't
maybe
predict it.
Nothing's going to. You can. And it's suddenly one night, 3 different people, get interacted with. It's completely random, absolutely random. But we think, I mean, we are certainly working better without that sort of, factor of having the jump scare. It could still be arranged for private tours, I have to say.
Right. We'll give you a jump
public
scare.
tours are
You just don't want somebody who goes into that whole fight or flight, because they're going to find the jumper hanging from the tree. You're right. It can be very dangerous. Somebody goes into fight or flight mode. It's instinctive. It's not even intentional. So talk to us a little bit about some of the other locations on your tour. You actually have different tours that you do.
Yeah, well, we've got the underground tour, obviously, which is just the vaults, and then we've got the graveyard tour, which is just the graveyard.
I had a mix on mine. Must have been
well, that's why we started the double. We were doing the graveyard tour for many, many years before we got the section of vaults. So that's all we did was the graveyard tour.
Yes.
So then, of course, when you've got 2 tours, you've got vaults and a graveyard tour, which are very different to each other, different location, different history, different everything. Of course, then people start asking, what's the best? What's the best tour?
Yes.
It's a question we get asked still every day. It's the same as what's the scariest tour. It's 2 questions that we get asked all the time that we cannot answer. There is no best anything. There's no best music. There's no best food. There's no best clothes.
Yeah.
It's all personal opinion. It's all personal. Like reviews, it's just one person's opinion. That's it. And scared. Everybody's different. Like yourself, you don't get scared by very little, whereas other people they can't even go into a dark space or even go into the prison area. They can't even enter it because they're just terrified.
Yes.
Everybody's different. So that's again why you can't advertise as you'll be terrified. The most terrifying to the guaranteed scared. You can't, because Everybody's
Yes.
different. So when you've got two different tours and you keep getting asked, what's the best, that's when Jan decided to do the double tour, basically a cut down, condensed version of each tour, an
Yes.
overview of both locations.
Yes.
So on the standard tours, the underground or graveyard, you're going to get more information. You're going to spend more time in the location, learning about each location because you have the
Yes.
time. Whereas the double, unfortunately, there is a lot of movement between the two locations, which does take time.
Mm-hmm.
And the double, because it's cut down, would the whole reason the double's cut down is because nobody wants to walk around for 3.5 hours at night after they've been around all day. But
Mm-hmm.
that's what it would be if you'd done the two tours back to back. So that's again why it's cut down. It has to be, or it'd be 3.5 hours long.
Yes.
And that's not
Yes.
including walking times. So yeah, that's
Yes.
why it is condensed down. But if you're not fussed and you want to see both locations, it's great. It's a great tour. But if you
Mm-hmm.
have got an interest in one location, I would do the standard tour. You're going to learn more and you're going to spend more time in that
Mm-hmm.
location.
Mm-hmm. Now you mentioned that you start off, like home base for you is Greyfriars, the whole area. Are there other haunted places that aren't on the tour that would probably welcome, patrons or go and get, stories coming out of certain spots
Yeah,
that
I
you
mean,
can
Edinburgh's
document?
full. Edinburgh is allegedly one of the most haunted,
I
cities in
know.
the world. So,
Yeah.
every corner you walk around, there's something to do with some ghost being seen or felt. Every pub you go into, every pub's got a ghost. Every shop's got a ghost. Every
Yeah.
jeweler's got a ghost. Every
Yeah.
castle's got a ghost. Everywhere. I mean, that's what happens when you have someone that's got over 1,000 years history. More than
Yeah.
that. There's been settlements since the Iron Age on top of going back thousands of years. And there's
Yes.
been death and murder and sorrow on every single square foot of Edinburgh city centre over the years, in some form or another. So of
That
course,
is
everything's
that
going to
is
be saved up
insane.
somehow. And every close has got a story of something happening. Yeah.
That is insane. Stories about Edinburgh Castle because people will at least know it if they see it. You can't miss
Yeah.
it, right? And it's
Yeah,
close to
exactly.
everything, close to
Well,
where
I
you can
mean,
just do the tours.
it's really lucky that they built it so close to a train station. It really helps, especially for
Yeah,
tourism.
yeah, right.
It's,
You don't do
so
tours of the castle. Do they just not allow
they do.
it, or
Yeah, they do. Yeah, you get private tours, or you get some tour companies take you on, or they do their own tours. I believe. Yeah, yeah. Or
yeah,
you can walk around it on your own. You can, yeah.
right? Yes, but you don't get all the good ghost stories like
Yeah, I mean, there's only
you
so
guys
much
have.
yeah, I mean, you can, I think, book special tours that do, sort of
Yeah,
fit to you, what you want to hear, like a
right.
private tour and stuff like that. In general, but yeah, I mean, your audio guides and your sort of booklets and that won't go into the sort of other aspect of it, but there'll always be somebody willing to talk about the sort of spooky side of things, absolutely, especially in Scotland. Like you say, I mean,
I know.
we're known for, ghosts, especially in, there's so much history. There's ghosts everywhere.
Yes. I had a guide. We had a guide. Our group that went through the Highlands and everything else, and we just got to know him over the course of the week or so, and we just got goes, well, what is it you want to see? I'm like, I don't think you're ready. But anyway, I just put it out there, and he goes, oh, I'll give you a private tour any way you want. Of course, the next morning I was zipping out to. We went to the south of France at that point. I said, well, I wish I had known this at the beginning of the tour. I had just maybe made different travel plans because I would have loved it. But it's always something to keep in the back of your mind. So I imagine, like, could you if somebody gave you a request to say, if I called you up and said, okay, Jamie, I'm going to be in Scotland at this time, and of course, I would do the tour again because, like you say, it's a different experience every time you go. It's never going to be
Yeah,
the same, But if I said, where else could you take me and book you for a private tour? Could you do that, or are you pretty much
yeah.
bound to the?
I mean, although transportation issues and stuff, but yeah, I mean, I'd be
I would
willing to
just
go.
rent
Yeah,
something.
round
Yeah,
about Edinburgh or something like that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I know enough about history stuff, and I didn't know that I'd learn. I always find it's fascinating, but yeah, I mean, we're not bound. Obviously, as a tour guide, we're
yeah,
willing to do. But I mean, I've done a few tours in the old town over the years. Yeah, down to
yes,
Hollywood, a couple of the courses and things like that, and yeah,
hmm
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. I just enjoy talking about history because I'm in an extremely privileged position to, do something that I absolutely adore doing.
hmm
And it's true, if you find a job you love, you won't work a day in your life, which is true. I get paid to just talk about, two wonderful locations, and I'm privileged to be able to take people in. and talk about them. So I absolutely love it.
I think to me, that's the most important thing, because you could tell the people who love it and who have the passion for it, the people who are protective of it as well. I tend to get funny like that. I would get protective of any location that I would
Yeah,
represent, because it's the people, it's everybody who came before. It's, the spirits who may be still reliving it. It's the people who made it what it is, and the fact that these places still exist
yeah,
even today, after all of the hardship and the war and everything. To have a love for it is very evident, compared to somebody who's just like, it's a job, I'm here.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Greyfriars is different because it is, it is a scheduled national monument. The entire grounds are classed as a monument. It's also in a World Heritage Site, so there is laws, and there is, bylaws and protection for
Mhm,
Greyfriars.
mhm.
I'm also part of the stakeholders board, who were set up in 2018
Excellent.
to control by the council, well, for the council, to
Mhm,
basically have a say in the running of the kirkyard and how it's managed, which is a great idea, because for a long
mhm.
time, unfortunately, tour groups didn't have to pay to enter Greyfriars. They could just come in and use it and abuse it and then leave,
Mm,
without a care in the world. And unfortunately, the damage that was being done was getting to the stage of it was irreversible.
mhm.
And the Greyfriars was never ever built for traffic exceeding 1.5 million people a year. That kind of traffic. For
Wow.
various different reasons, it has taken off with it as a main tourist attraction for
Mhm,
various different reasons. So something needed to happen before the council were going to stop all tours, which they have the right to do that. It's their
mhm,
ground, and it is a historic site.
mhm,
So the stakeholders got together, we set up a group, and then the tour guide registration fee
mhm.
was brought in for licensed. So you now tour guides have to be licensed now, and
Wow.
registered to use Greyfriars, and tours are
Mm,
limited, which is a fantastic thing. It should have happened many years ago, but that's
mhm.
at least some income coming in from all tour groups. It's now fair that they're all paying exactly the same, whether they do 2 tours a year or 500 tours a year. Everybody
Mhm.
pays the same, and you know and it's good because that money is going directly back to the Greyfriars. It needs
Yeah.
maintenance, and maintenance costs money, a lot of
Mhm.
money for a historic site, because you can't just go get somebody from down the street who does handiwork, just to patch that
Yeah.
up. It has to be specialists that come out to deal with a historic site, and
Well,
that's what
because it is, yeah, it
it
is
is
a
historic.
historic site.
It is an 800-year-old burial ground, where burials go back to the 1400s, from when the monks were there, and the Greyfriars
Right.
Monastery, where the whole name comes from.
Mhm.
You can't just have random people, fixing things in there. It has to, and this costs money, and that money has to come from somewhere, And unfortunately, the government giving the council very little money to deal with these things. The council's hands are tied. They want to
Mhm.
help tour guides and keep the tour guides because it's great for. They fully know that,
Mhm.
but they have to balance it with the budget. And if
Yes.
someone's going to give, the council's hands are tied, and they are fantastic. The bereavement services, Edinburgh City Council, who own and manage the graveyard, and the other historic graveyards in Edinburgh, they do a fantastic job with very little what they've got, and they try their best to
Mhm.
help tour guides, and yeah, they are fantastic, and they get
Mhm.
so much. The council in general gets so much, no, the bereavement services are fantastic, and we try and help them. Me, especially City of the Dead, and myself personally, as much help as we can to help as much as we can, and that involves, eyes on the ground. If there's any damage, straight away let them know so it can be, looked at, and things like that. It's valuable to each other. So it's a
Mhm.
great working relationship we've got with them, and
Oh,
so happy now that everybody's now paying their way. Everybody pays the same, and it's some money. It's a good start to try and get that sorted and get
I
everything
think I
fixed.
think it's important if you're coming in and profiting off this, when you
It,
have so many people on these historically
it is,
designated places,
yeah,
it wears. Where people don't realize you keep touching the same stone,
it's
1.5 million people doing that every time they come in. If
oh
they're there
yeah,
for a week and you do it
that's another
10
story.
times,
Yeah.
right? Like, I know. So,
That's a whole different story. We'll get to that in a second. But no, you're right, absolutely right. I mean, whenever you read, these people were coming in, even the free tours, they were coming in and they were making money out of council property. Take away the fact it's a graveyard.
mhm,
If you conduct your business anywhere on a business premises where you conduct money, you have to pay rent. You do not get free rent. You have to pay for, and I'm sorry, but the amount that the council charge for a year, it's a lot cheaper than any property that I have
Oh,
ever experienced to rent as
yes,
a business. So,
yes.
it's not, I don't see the problem with it at all. You have
No.
to pay the way of rent anywhere. So that's exactly what you're using council property to make money. Take the historic aspect away.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but you have to
It's
pay
like
rent.
profit sharing, you know?
Yeah,
If
absolutely.
you're sharing
You
in the
can.
profit, you have to share in the maintenance.
Absolutely. And the maintenance is the main thing because that's what's going to let everybody down is if maintenance got too bad or damaged. Tours would be bad. They would just stop
Mhm.
them. And that affects everybody. Everybody, including us, which I wasn't going to let that happen.
Well,
As we've it's our back garden. We care deeply about Greyfriars. Very, very deeply.
is there not something in place now where I thought I read at some point within all of the UK, not just the Scotland, but isn't there something now for travelers coming to the area where they have to pay some kind of a service charge?
Yeah, yeah. Tourist tax. It's been happening in Italy. I used to travel to Venice quite a lot. We used to have to pay it when we went to Venice. It's
Right.
nothing. It's two. Well, for Venice, it was like 2, 3, depending on the hotel. Well, it was a 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star. That's how
Hmm.
much tax you pay. It's only €1 per star, so it'll only be a couple of pounds. It'll be no difference whatsoever. Yeah,
Yeah.
Scotland. It's not a big thing in the UK yet, but certainly in Europe we're using it. And
Yeah, I
yeah,
thought they were
Edinburgh's
going to
just
implement
pushed
that
it through. Yeah, it's basically
because
done through hotels. It's your hotels that pay. So the booking, they'll put the extra money on the booking, and they pay the government from
yeah.
that. I believe. Well, how it works in Venice, anyway.
Yes, because I mean, you guys are a pretty confined area, like I've said, you're going into, for example, the Isle of Skye. I
Yeah,
truly think people should just be, come over that bridge. You should be dropping money somewhere because,
and at all, yeah, you can do it at all. Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, it's helping out, especially the way things are going with cost of living crisis.
yes,
Things get cheaper. Never do things get cheaper.
no, but
Everything
you
goes
guys
up.
are confined enough that could you not charge a tariff or something for somebody coming in to say drop a couple of pounds and you're here for the day? That would really. And when I was
Yeah,
in
I mean,
Romania,
absolutely. I mean,
there were boxes at every historic site for
like
people to
donation
drop money.
boxes. Well, I mean, you do get them. You do.
Okay, good,
We do have the donation points in Greyfriars, but it's card
good.
only, unfortunately.
Mm.
Um, you know, um, we can't allow, unfortunately, anymore have cash boxes because, as you can imagine, it can invite
Different
the wrong people.
times. Yeah.
If they have a chance, they would steal it. So it's unfortunate we can't. But we do have the donation points. It's whether people, guys point them out, which they're meant to do. It's only £1. It's an automatic pound off a tap card. It's a machine, beep, and
Yes.
that's it. So it's a
Right.
pound, and that money, again, like the tour guide registration money, that goes right back into the into the grounds,
Wonderful.
and
Yeah.
that money helps restore and keep the flower beds going and keep everything looking nice.
Hmm.
So it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm. I love that. I love that. It's a really big part of keeping these places
Yeah.
operational. Because without these locations, you just don't have those tours.
No.
If something gets into being such bad disrepair, it's like, you know, especially cemeteries. I'm glad
Yeah.
it's locked up because they tend to get vandalized a lot. Do you ever, for me, whenever there was a specific castle I used to work at, and the owner was still set to be there. So every time I knew a large group, because our groups, much like your own, we would get sometimes about 125 people a night, and I would always go in and take a walk, what I call a walkabout, and say, okay, good evening, to the individual. And I'd say, we have a full house tonight at blah, 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 because he still wanted to be kept informed, apparently, who's going to be in the house. So I took that very, very seriously. And I go about to a full house. This is where we're good. This is where it's going to start. This is where it's going to split. This is where we're going to go. And I'll tell you, a lot of the spirits there, everybody would act right up. Would be like, "Yeah, good, full house." But I think there was that interaction. Do you ever find yourself doing that sometimes, just walking about and kind of giving everybody a heads up, or am I just a
No.
weirdo that does that?
Just the way that. I can't say I've ever done that. I mean, I'm very different. I mean, although I'm not. I'm a bit as psychic as a fire extinguisher. You know,
Nice.
I used to be. I used to be. I used to be members of ghost hunting teams and things like that. And over the years, I've now come to the conclusion, after working here for so long as well, I've never seen a ghost in my life, so I ain't going to see one now. So there's no point in me trying to see one because it ain't going to happen.
Right.
Doesn't mean they don't exist just because I
Right.
can't see them. I know Wi-Fi exists. I can't see Wi-Fi, but I know it's there. I can
Yeah.
see it's there.
Yes.
I work in a job where I cannot be single. I have to be open-minded. Nothing is too crazy. I've seen it happen. I've seen it with my own eyes. Doesn't
Yes.
mean I'm not a ghost, but I've
Right.
seen scratches appear on people. I've seen the shadows move out the corner. I can't tell what it is, but
Mm. Yeah.
there's definitely something. There's definitely something, or several things, in the vaults, and is certainly in the Covenanters prison in Greyfriars
Mm.
that is not human, that causes these things. But what it is, I have no idea, and none of us do. Until we get the science made available to us,
Yes.
we will not. We just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it's good though because I wouldn't say I'm a non-believer.
Yeah.
Of course I'm not. There is definitely something that's not human, and I have seen what it can do, and I've witnessed what it can do. So there is something
Have you ever been attacked?
there. No. Well, I've been interacted once. Not really attacked. It was a weird one. I do most of the maintenance in our vaults, and the only time to do that properly when I'm doing the staircase, you've seen the metal staircases. I mean, they
Yes.
get painted twice a year, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a big job. The only time I do that is overnight when there's no tours. So I'll
Yeah.
go in about sort of 10 o'clock at night, and I'll work through the night. I'll work right through, and I'll come out, 9 in the morning, 10 in the morning, depending
Mm-hmm.
on what's done. So I've done this for years. I love it. It's deadly silent. After 3 o'clock in the morning, it's just so quiet.
Wow.
Just me. So yeah, I'm very happy in the vaults. I'm very relaxed in the vaults. I spend a lot of time in the vaults on my own. I love it.
Right. So you're not
Um,
putting out those endorphins. So you're
no,
you're
definitely
kind of
not.
safe safe to say that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I
Well,
know
I think
every
they know you
sound.
too,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I know every sound in that place. If I'm in there and a spider farts, I know exactly where that spider is just from the echo of where it's come from.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I hear it, and it's the sounds
Yeah.
I don't recognize. And
Yeah.
this night, I was working. I was painting one of the doors downstairs near the exit, or the entrance, and I'm painting away, and I heard kids laughing. It was kids laughing. Now I don't like.
Yeah.
I'm not a kid person. I don't have any children. I don't particularly like them. They're noisy. They just spread germs, and I'm just not a kid person. They're fine when they're somebody else's.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely kids laughing. Maybe 4 or 5 of them. I don't know, but there was more than two. And I thought that's a bit weird.
Mm-hmm.
It must be quite late. I didn't know what time it was, so I looked at my watch, and it's 3:05 a.m. I'm like, that's really weird. However, there is flats outside in the street, outside the vaults on the street side that are Airbnbs. So I figured, it's just a late check-in. There's been a delay in a flight. It's a family. So, there's families coming all the time. There's people renting them out. So that's what it is. It's no problem. So I thought,
Mm-hmm.
you know what? Because I'm a smoker, I went outside. I thought, I'll have a cigarette anyway. It's been an hour or so. So I need to get away from the pain fumes. So I went outside into the street and I looked up and down. There's not a single light on in the street. There's nobody about. None of the places had lights on. There's no family, nothing. So
Wow.
I was okay. That was the one and only times I was actually reluctant. I felt a bit reluctant to go back in,
Mm-hmm.
but I did. I was like, "Dad, put your big boy pants on, Jamie. It's just the
Wow.
paint fumes." So I went back in, and I just so towards then I was getting ready to leave, and I was washing. And when I'm painting, I make a mess. I don't care at that point. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't care. Paint everywhere, black paint from the doors. It's just splashed up my arms. It's on my face. So I'm cleaning up, and I was washing my forearms because I'm black paint all the way down here. And that's when I had two perfect circles, scratches, circles, perfect circles, not scratches. They were perfect circles there
Wow.
and there on my forearm. Uh, I didn't lean on anything. I didn't bang against anything. I didn't graze anything. I didn't even know they were there until I washed and I saw it. I didn't feel them. That was one of the only times that I could say I've been in the locations and I don't know how I got scratches because I felt nothing and they were just there. And the fact there were two perfect circles, that
Yes.
was it. And then the kids, it wasn't a case of that sounded like kids. It was kids laughing 100%. There
Wow.
is, which is interesting because recently, over the last sort of maybe 6 months, we've had a lot of reports coming through. Two guides, and two of the guides have actually heard it themselves. is a
Hmm.
child's musical box in the last vault. So that's interesting. That's come up. I haven't heard that. But yeah, there's a child's musical box being heard recently by numerous people, different people, and we don't make it public on the tour, I don't believe. So yeah, so
Hmm.
this has come from different sources,
Hmm. That's
which is a new
amazing.
interesting one. So yeah,
Always different. There's a comment here
not
for
much I can
you.
do. Yeah, real
Uh,
kids I can avoid. Dead kids in the vault, I'm not too sure I can get away from. So I'm kind of stuck with them ones, which is
yes,
not too good.
I know, I know. And kids like to be mischievous, so it's kind of like a double whammy.
The
Besides that,
joy to
right?
me for some reason, it's like they must know like that. It's like some cats know that people don't
Yeah.
like cats. The cats know they're like straight to, and they're like, my cat hates everybody. Why does it love you? I hate cats. I don't. I love cats, but and dogs.
Yeah,
Yeah, I actually prefer animals to humans. Believe it or not. That's why.
it's funny.
And in
Uh,
my vault.
this one's for you, Jibber Jabber Podcast. Welcome.
Yes.
I was thrown down the stairs in the vaults, and sadly, Jamie wasn't there that day. How'd you get to
No.
miss that?
I know. I'd have laughed so much. Yeah. I thought I need to go back on their guys' show. Man. The Jibber Jabber podcast do a tremendous Scottish podcast show.
Oh,
It's
I love it.
it's serious, but it's not too serious. They're a good bunch of guys. It's funny. You've got a sense of humour.
Uh,
I've done one with them many years ago. I need to do an update
yeah,
on it. It's a fantastic show. Yeah,
I
it's a
love
good
it.
one. Absolutely. So if you look in their archive, you'll probably find it.
Yeah,
But it is,
absolutely. So we'll
if you've
say
got a
Jibber
sense of
Jabber
humour.
Podcast for all of our multitudes of the audio listeners. Check them out. Check them out. Get some more, Jamie.
Absolutely.
Well, so in closing, what's the worst experience that you've ever had, whether it's on the tours or whether it's just, because you live in a place that's just crazy anyway.
I don't know. Never thought about the worst. Not really had since I started working there. There's not been a worst, you know?
Well, I mean, it has to be something substantial as a guide who is put in a position on a regular basis. I mean, you got Mackenzie, right? But I mean, like, I've had crazy experiences. People ask me, and I'm just like, I don't know, but there's been some pretty crazy ones. So, what's, let's say, your
Yeah.
craziest one that just kind of stays with you? If you're pondering, probably not
It
many.
was quite many years ago when the guides, I mean, obviously, when we take, I mean, a lot of our guides have been with us for years because, not just because we're an excellent tour company to work for,
Yes,
you know, but
yes,
because they've got the freedom to change, if they, they don't have to follow scripts, they don't have to wear, costumes, they can do their own thing, and they've got that freedom to do it within reason. Obviously, we're not going to let people just make stuff
I
up.
love
That's
that.
not what we're about.
Yes.
But so usually, if something's going to happen, and we feel it, it's usually during their training. I mean, we have had many people, many guides that have come on and think, "Oh, this is great," but during their training tours and stuff, something's happened, or somebody's fainted, or something's kicked off, and they're like, "No, I can't do this." I thought it was made up. And that's usually what they say. I thought it was made up. So by the time they get to actually being a guide, nothing really phases them, to be honest, because most
Yeah.
of them have already experienced something, or so I don't really say bad ones. I mean, we've had a few guys leave because, like, during the training, because things have happened.
Mhm.
Like the person being thrown against the wall. That was quite a traumatic one. I
Mhm.
don't think the guy recovered. We've got witnessing that.
Yeah.
So there, everything's different. Everything is different. So it's difficult to say. For the people on the
Mhm.
tour, some of them love being interacted with. Some of them not so much. So for
Mhm.
them, it's the worst thing that's happened.
That's it. That
By
is the worst.
by somebody they can't see. For us,
Yes.
that's like another tally mark. A couple of guides would have tallies between them how many could get knockouts
Yes.
on their tour. I think Katie was leading for many years. We're having knockouts on her tour. One of our
Mhm.
longest standing tour guides of
Mhm.
almost like 18 years.
Mhm.
So yeah, they've
That's
seen pretty much
substantial.
there's very little phase the guides.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I can't say the worst. I mean, there's not really had most of the worst stuff that happens in the graveyards due to living people, not unfortunately.
That's true.
Dead
Well,
people,
they're
it's the
used to the
living that causes the
guides.
problem. It's not the dead people. Yeah, they just scratch people up and throw people about, slap them about a little bit. Yeah, it's common.
Yeah.
It's just
So
yeah.
you've had, how about famous people? Everybody. I just want to make a point of saying everybody comes on this tour.
Yeah, we had the few.
Doesn't matter who you are.
One of the biggest ones, to be fair, was somebody who I never thought in a million years that I would meet was Matthew Lillard, Ghostface, Scream,
Yeah.
obviously Jacqui.
Yeah.
Everybody knows who Matthew Lillard is. And we were at the convention, the HorrorCon in Edinburgh 2018, and Matthew Lillard was a guest, and we had a table set at the Dead Tours. So I never thought in a million years I'd ever meet him, let alone do a tour for him. So I was like, you know what, I have to. So I went, I was speaking to him, lovely guy, absolutely lovely guy. So I badgered him to come on a free tour that night. I would do it for him. And so myself and Katie that I mentioned, we were going to do half each. And we did. We got him and Elaine Dirks from The Exorcist,
Yes.
who played she was there, she was present.
Yeah.
And Mr. Rowe Management was there. So we had a great time. It was 5 or 6 people.
Very nice.
And Matthew Lillard was so funny. He any noise he shit himself. It was amazing to see. Scream. I don't know if you can see this, but behind me, I'm just going to move my camera. Behind me, I have my Scream
Yes.
walls, all my sound stuff. So I've always been. I loved Scream when it first came out. I went to see it at the cinema the very first day because I loved Wes Craven movies, thanks to Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
So when Scream was released, I went to the cinema, I saw it, I loved it. I went back the next night. I was obsessed by Scream. I loved it. So to meet Matthew Lillard was something I never thought would happen. So to have him on a tour and to see him jump at any opportunity because he hates horror stuff, he hates the suspense.
And yet he's this guy.
Well, he's like you said, when you're making a movie, it's all set, it's all broken up. It's it doesn't happen like you've read the script. It's there. Mm-hmm. Yes. You know, so but he doesn't like it, which is really funny. So we'd arranged for one of my guides to then jump out at Matthew Lillard with the ghost face costume on, and I'd been waiting so many years for that to happen. And that's the mask, the big one behind me that he signed. Yeah, the big one there. So that's we got to sign the mask that was used to scare him. And he was brilliant. So that was one of the highlights of my time at site.
So that would be like a job perk.
Yeah, and of course, we've had over the time being asked there. There was also, I mean, obviously, if you're an Outlander fan, I was approached by the spin-off Men in Kilts, where Sam and Graham went around Scotland, and I was involved in the film of that in Greyfriars, where I mostly known for being a 6-foot dead penguin. When I look like a dead penguin because I've got the Plague Doctor mask on, I jump out and scare Graham. That was
right.
That was so as part of that, which was interesting with the chain of events. So it's kind of perks of the job, absolutely, and several different things. But it's fun. I enjoy talking about what I do. I love what I do, so I love talking about it.
I'm thrilled. Megan Dexter says hi, Jamie.
Hi.
Yeah.
It's not my friends that are watching this, that's all. It's just not my friends, that's it. I invited them all around for a party. Yeah, come on live. Come on, guys. I'm surprised none of them are giving me hassle, actually.
No. I think it's just, people.
They know what I'm like. They know exactly what I'm like. So this is going to be best behavior. I've been warned. So.
That's probably it right there. I know.
Absolutely. I'll give them a piece of private messages afterwards, but they're fine. They're good.
Well, so your tours go all year round then? Because in closing, I'm going to put the website up. It's up here.
We run every day except Christmas Eve,
right?
Christmas Day, and the 31st of December. The only days we're closed. Other than that, we run every day, all year round. Yeah,
beautiful. So. The website is the City of the Dead Tours, and everything you need to know about the tours, booking the tours, the locations, everything is right there to be had. I am so thrilled that you came on to join me. I really am, because I am a fan of the tours. I've done it. I will do it again without a doubt, but I will probably go in private mode. As much as I love everybody else being around, I do like to have that a little bit more.
I'll take you around. Just let me know next time you're over. And I'll take you around.
I shall. And so thank you so much. I wish you the best in the upcoming tour year, because I know it's going to get a lot busier for you. And anything crazy happens, you have an open door here. You are always welcome.
Perfect. I can't escape. Yeah. Brilliant.
Come on to Canada. I'll take you to some crazy places.
Well, the coldness and stuff. Yeah, I want to go somewhere hot. I've got enough of the cold.
Don't come to Canada.
Go back to New Orleans. Go back to absolutely. I'd love to visit.
We've got snow and freezing rain coming, and it's like, no, you're not getting warm here. Not for
Fair
our
enough.
summers, mind you, get really warm.
Yeah,
But
I'm ready for the heat. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
I was up in Scotland. I'm thinking, okay, it's May. How bad could it be, right?
Yeah, it can be quite nippy still. Yeah.
Oh, I'm I'm up in the north. Edinburgh is beautiful. Glasgow. Then we ended up in the north part of the Isle of Skye and the ocean.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
this
different world.
wind.
It's like
Oh,
Jurassic World without the dinosaurs. It's so barren and vast. It's just
it's crazy, but it's
it's remote.
beautiful. It
Yeah,
is.
scenery is spectacular. Yeah,
You give to Scotland, Scotland gives back to you, and out of, like I always say it, the
yeah,
multitudes of places I've traveled through, throughout my life and my career and so on, it's always a place that calls you back.
yeah.
And
I mean,
it is.
even as a Scotsman, I mean, I until a few years ago, and even as a Scotsman who's used to seeing mountains and stuff, scenery, to see the scenery in Skye, it was certainly breathtaking. Even for a Scotsman to see, some of the scenery, it was absolutely spectacular. Yeah, it was
Mhm.
hauntingly beautiful, especially with this stuff coming.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's wonderful. You're
I didn't
blessed.
quite feel like, getting the blue face paint on and shouting free government out there and killing and stuff. It was far too ridiculous for
Yeah.
that. It was, yeah, it's a different kind of feeling. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you're definitely blessed. You're in a beautiful part of the world, and you love your job, and you can't ask for better than that.
Indeed.
So I'm hoping that you will join us again, and I'm hoping that I'll see you the next time I'm out your neck of the woods. And I thank you
Absolutely.
so much for joining us today, or
Thank
evening
you.
for you. So this evening. So
Pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
thank you. So, guys, tomorrow night we have Dr. Rita Louise joining us on the main show, just so you all know. And she's going to be talking about her book. This should be fun, The Dysfunctional Dance of the Empath and the Narcissist. That should be heated up, I think, in the chat room. Without a doubt, it's going to be a bit ugly, I think.
Very interesting.
I know my co-host Amelia is probably going to have a thing to say. Hopefully, she'll make it. And Thursday, we welcome back David Sig Hansen for part 2 of his research on Atlantis in North America, which should be kind of interesting. First show was great, so let's see what show number 2 is going to bring. Anyway, have yourselves a great evening for those on this side of the world. And I guess I could still say that because it's not too late on your side of the world.
No, it's
So,
only 8:30 here, isn't it? Yeah, 8:30. It's
oh,
good.
beautiful.
Still early.
That's like pub time.
Yeah.
All my friends out in the UK, pub time. Let's go. It's
Dinner
like,
time. That's what it is. Yeah.
I know. I love it. So, everyone, we'll see you on the show tomorrow night. And thank you all for tuning in today.
Thank
Good
you.
afternoon, good night, and thank you, Jamie Corstorphine. I hope I got that right.
We're stopping. Yeah, close enough.
Okay. So
Okay,
the guy
works.
who sounded it out in
Brilliant.
the chat room. Good night.